Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Paper Wishes Weekly Webisodes. I'm Sara Newman, and I'm so happy you're joining me for this episode of Saturday with Sara. Today, I'm excited to show you a new collection from our friends at Graphic 45 called Spring is in the Air. We have pattern papers, we have ephemera cutouts, and we have rub-ons. So a gorgeous collection today. Let's take a closer look, and we can start with our paper pack. So I'll move aside our embellishments for now, and we can flip through. So here you've got 24 sheets of 8x8 pattern papers. You'll have 3 each of 8 designs. And you can see the patterns below and how they've grouped them into pairs. But of course you can mix and match because the color palette coordinates across the pack. So have a look here at this gorgeous stripe design. On the other side you have a coordinating floral pattern. And of course you've got 3 each of 8 designs, so you've got lots to play with. Then some of the patterns are going to be overall, like this one here, and others will be cutout elements that you can use on the front of your card or on the inside. I just really adore this collection. I think the colors are rich and vibrant, and the images are just beautiful. And of course, everything will coordinate beautifully. You can see that you could cut out this section here to use as a border along with this design, or with this design too. So there's a lot of different possibilities in here with this fantastic paper collection. And there are some more of those cutouts in there as well. Then to go along, we've also got that pack of 66 paper ephemera pieces. So let's take a look here. Now this is the package that you can see. I've separated this. I wanted you to be able to see on the back of the package all of these different designs. So 66 pieces in here. Postmarks, flowers, sentiments, lots of different designs. And I've taken a few of them out and just put them down onto a piece of cardstock so that you can see the variety and the size that we've got in here. So again, sentiments, you've got some butterfly images, you've got some nice focal elements here too. And then several of these flowers in a variety of sizes that you can stack one on top of the other to create some dimension. So this is just a few of those 66 paper ephemera pieces. And then we've also got a set of rub-ons. So here you have 2 sheets measuring 6 inches by 8 inches with beautiful images and messages on here. Then you've also got an applicator stick also included in the package. And what's also nice is you've got some instructions on how to apply that. But of course, we will take a look at how to do that. Super simple to do, but we'll do a little demo of that in today's webisode. So as you can see, we have got a gorgeous collection to play with today. Everything is coordinated perfectly to make it really easy to create beautiful cards that are quick and simple to do. I'm really glad you're here today, and I'm excited to explore the creative possibilities with you. So come play with us. Let's begin with this card, which shows how easy it is to use a large paper ephemera piece as the focal point and how nicely this integrates with the pattern papers and the rub-ons, plus some additional supplies like a cutting die and dazzles. Okay, let's start from the bottom and we can work our way up. So first of all, I've covered the card front with green cardstock, and this comes from the Golden Botanical cardstock pack. This is from hot off the press, and you can see the array down here, all of those gorgeous colors, and they just happen to work beautifully with the colors in the patterned paper pack. And you can see here how nicely those go. And you can really have a lot of fun just mixing and matching your pattern papers and your cardstock together. And we'll play with that a little bit in today's webisode. Then I've cut down a piece of the floral and stripe paper, slightly smaller than the card front, and then glued that in place. And then you can see down here at the bottom, I have a border piece, and that comes from this sheet here, which has a lot of borders, so you can cut as many together as you wish. So here I've used this large blue floral border down here at the bottom, and I've also included this row of little blue flowers there too. So a lot of different options you can use with the border pieces here. So I've matted this piece onto white cardstock, and there is white cardstock in the Golden Botanical cardstock pack too. So you've got that ready to go. And then I have the Hopping By sentiment, and this is a rub-on. Above that, I've got this large rabbit ephemera piece. So that includes the flowers down here at the bottom. And then overlapping the border here, I've positioned this down so that you can really let this lead your eye through the card. I've also got some additional ephemera tucked underneath, so a little bouquet here and a flower down here. And then I've got this large piece of foliage. Now this comes from a die set from hot off the press called Bigger Leaves and Ferns #2. And I am obsessed with this set. I absolutely love it. My mother tipped me off to this one, so we both have this set. And it's great because it is so useful and so practical, especially if you make a lot of botanical cards. It will never go out of style either. So these 3 large pieces here can be used singly, as you can see here. You can also mix and match them. On the back of the package, you can see that Debbie has a card here where she's combined lots of the different leaves in a variety of different cardstock colors. So you can get a lot of different looks just from that one set. So I think you can see why it's one of my new favorites. So I've just cut the one leaf from a light mint cardstock and tucked it here underneath. Now another thing you might be noticing on this card are the little golden birds. Now these are from the Gold Bird Dazzles set. This has a lot. It's got 95 little birds in different sizes, and they're flying in different directions, and they just make a really sweet addition. So of course I'm using the gold one. There's also a set with silver. I don't know if you can see that very well, but a really pretty silver kind of pearlescent effect. And then there's also blue. So you can have a blue bird of happiness flying across your card if you wish. But these just make a really nice little accent in there. Then for my card inside, I have 2 more of the same leaf die cuts. I've got one from pattern paper and one from solid cardstock. And I really like layering them slightly offset to create some depth. And so I wanted to show this to you, just talk a little bit more about it. So here I've glued down one of the leaves just right onto plain cardstock, and I've die cut it from a nice kind of leaf green cardstock shade from the Botanical, the Golden Botanical cardstock pack. And then I've got another leaf from a slightly lighter cardstock color. And what I would do is simply position this down slightly offset to create sort of a shadow effect and glue that down. And you can see how that's going to add a little bit of depth. You can sort of scoot it over a little bit more if you want to. And once you have that glued in place, it really does have a nice look to it. So you can do this onto your solid cardstock. You could also, of course, use some of the pattern paper in the collection, and you can see how nicely that works. Now, in terms of gluing down an intricate die cut piece like this, you can use your sticky specs. You can also use some plain white acrylic glue. This is from Creative Expressions. And I have this in my little precision applicator bottle, which I love. And this is great for just adding a little bit of glue on some of those leaves, top and bottom. And what I like about this is that it gives you the coverage and the adhesive hold without the glue sort of going everywhere. So you can really position things down as you wish. And then kind of tack that down in place and let it dry. And then you've got a really nice offset shadow effect on your botanicals. And then while that's drying, sometimes I like to put a clear acrylic block on top to hold everything in place while the glue dries, or even one of the plates from my die cutting machine will do the trick there too. So that's with those beautiful Bigger Leaves and Ferns dies, and you can see one reason why I really like those. They're so versatile. Then back to the card inside, so you can see I've added here some additional ephemera. Here's a cutout from the paper pack. Here's another ephemera bunny hopping into the card, and then I've added another little golden bird as a finishing touch. I mentioned how versatile I find that Golden Botanicals cardstock set, and I thought it would be fun to take a closer look at how nicely it works with the pattern papers in our Graphic 45 collection today. So I always use a solid cardstock when I'm mixing and matching my pattern papers. And this is a really good example here. That white border in between the pattern border and the pattern background paper really makes a big difference in setting each of those two patterns apart. And it provides a little bit of visual space between those two designs as well. So this set, of course, has a lot of beautiful pattern papers. And with our cardstock pack, we've also got a lot of options for mixing and matching. So I'm going to bring in this pattern paper piece and also one of the ephemera pieces. So this really pretty basket of flowers. Now you can see the detail and the design here when it's just on this solid background. When I put it onto the pattern paper, it gets a little bit lost in there. We've got a lot of detail and color going on in the background paper. We've also got a lot of color and detail going on in our ephemera piece. So it doesn't stand out quite so well. But if we bring in some solid cardstock, things start to look a little bit different. Now here I have a really nice lavender color from the Golden Botanicals cardstock set. And I've die cut this into a rectangle shape and then matted it onto a coordinating nesting scallop shape. Now these are from one of my favorite die sets. It's the 12 rectangle and scalloped cutting dies, one that I use a lot. As you can see from the sorry state of the packaging here, I just never put those away. I use them so often. So I've die cut this combination, and then when I place this underneath here, you can start to see the difference that that will make. Now the fun part comes in when you start to play with your different colors of cardstock. And I think this one also looks quite nice with that green. We've also got a darker purple color, and that looks great too. And then the last one that I pulled is this sort of goldenrod, which I really like because it picks up the golden colors in that background paper. And that also looks pretty too. So you have a lot of different options to choose when you're mixing and matching your colored cardstock and your pattern papers. But it does make a really big difference when you're choosing elements to go together and when you're coordinating a couple of different pattern papers together. And so this card has a great example of this very same thing. Here I've got my large floral focal paper ephemera piece. This is popped up on some foam tape, and then I've got a second one that's popped up on 2 layers of foam tape. Now if I had put those right down onto this pattern background paper, I think it would be really difficult to set them apart. So I have a green piece of cardstock die cut into a rectangle, and then again that scalloped edge going around the outside. And that's placed down onto my pattern background paper, which again I've got some more borders on here. The layout of this card is actually quite similar to our bunny card as well. You can see those borders on there and just how easily everything mixes and matches together. And then again, another leaf die cut is curving along the edge of the scalloped rectangle piece. I've got a postage mark down here. I've got a butterfly ephemera piece, and then the best day banner also popped up on layers of foam tape. So I do have a lot of nice dimension in here. And of course I've got one of my little golden birds too, just for another nice finishing touch. And then on the inside of the card, we have this beautiful lavender cardstock, plus the fern die, and this is die cut from a green cardstock. And that is just tucked underneath a focal message with a large rub-on that's been die cut. And of course I've got my bunny ephemera piece and then the 2 birds here. Now we've talked about some of the rub-ons in here already, but let's take a look at how to apply these. Super simple to do. I'm going to grab a few supplies and then we can take a look. A couple of supplies you'll need to have on hand when you're doing your rub-on. Of course, you need to have your surface on which to apply your rub-on. And here I'm working with just a plain piece of smooth white cardstock. I've trimmed out the rub-on from the main sheet. And when I do that, I make sure that I'm getting the liner sheet on there together. I'm going to keep both of these together until I've decided where I want to position this on my surface. And then of course you also need to have an applicator Graphic 45 includes an applicator here, a little wooden, kind of like a popsicle stick. You can use that. You can also, of course, use your bone folder. So either one will do the trick. Now today I'm also working on a mouse pad. So an old mouse pad, remember those? I've got this underneath my paper because I'm working on a really hard surface. And sometimes a mouse pad just gives you an added little bit of cushioning to make it easier to apply that rub-on. Okay, so I'm going to place my cardstock on here. And of course, it's a smooth cardstock. So if you're working with a textured design, you may have some different results. So do make sure you're working with something nice and smooth. I'm going to set aside the liner and then just figure out where I want this to go. I'll position it down right in the middle. And I'm going to smooth this down really well with my finger. Now these do have some stick to the back, which is nice. They're not going to go sliding all over the place, which does make it a little bit more secure when you're burnishing this in place. And then you'll take your applicator and just simply rub this in place. And you don't need to put a whole lot of muscle into it, but you do need to make sure that you're going quite firmly and evenly on the design. Make sure that you get around all of those outside edges, all of the little detail portions. Those can be the trickier places. And you want to make sure that that all transfers really nicely. And you can start to see, I think, right about here where the top portion is lifting off a little bit, which means that I've transferred that perfectly onto my surface. I'm going to keep going here. And then what I'll do is just grab a little corner and pull this up gently and slowly. And make sure that I've got this all transferred in place. Now I say gently and slowly because if something doesn't transfer perfectly, I can place it back down and continue burnishing. But it looks like this worked out just fine. And there is my beautiful tulip bouquet. Really nice addition to any of your card projects. And you can, of course, put this onto your solid cardstock. It also looks really nice on pattern paper, too. Now, with the rub-ons in today's collection, you'll have some single images like this one here. You'll also have quite a few that are all over designs. And you can choose to use those as backgrounds, which also work really nicely. Now, so I've got this one kind of halfway done here. So I've applied this beautiful patterned rub-on all over my white cardstock. And then using one of those rectangle dies, I've just positioned that in place. I used a little bit of the Hunky Dory low tack tape. This is what I use to keep my cutting dies in place when I'm die cutting. And then I run this through my die cutting machine. So now I can pop this out and then maybe get one of my solid cardstock nesting scalloped edge rectangles and position that in place. And then I could even add one of the ephemera pieces from today's collection. So you can use your rub-ons singly as focal elements or maybe for the inside of the card. You can also take advantage of those beautiful backgrounds to create a really nice element for layering with some of your ephemera pieces. I always love a shaped card, and the circular step is one of my favorite shapes to work with. So you can see here the front and the back and the inside. This will stand really nicely and create kind of a rocker effect. And it's just a really fun and different way to create a handmade greeting. So super simple to do, of course, using the circular step card cutting die, one of my favorites. And you can see here, this is the metal piece that you'll be working with. It's just one die, so all you need to do is place this onto your paper or cardstock and run it through your die cutting machine. It will give you the outside edge. Of course, it will also give you these score lines in here too, making it really easy to create the card. So you can see those indicated on here. On the back of the package, along with your written instructions and your project idea, you'll see the M for mountain folds and the V for valley folds. So just follow along with that and you will be good to go. So I've got one piece already die cut here from some cardstock. And you can see my mountain fold and my valley folds there. So when I do this and I fold this all up, I really like to use my bone folder to add a little bit of an extra crease on there. And then you can see my piece will be all folded up really nicely. So this is it made out of a solid cardstock. Now, of course, I've made my piece from patterned paper and I'm using this really pretty sheet here. So one thing to keep in mind when you're working with patterned paper, and this will be your card base, that when you have this folded in half, your pattern will read the right way on the front, but on the back of the card, it will be upside down. So with an all-over floral pattern, that might not be such a big deal, but if you have a design that's got a really obvious pattern, for example, something like this, where you've got those butterflies and flowers and bunnies looking perfect on the front, and then on the back side, things are going upside down in perhaps a way that you don't want, then what you can do is simply cover the back with another patterned paper. So that's what I've done in this case. And you can see on the back like so. And it's also what I've done on my card here. So it's a great way to use some of those coordinating pattern papers and create a polished effect. So just something to keep in mind when you're working with those patterned designs. So back to my card front here, I've just added a strip of plain cardstock across the front, just even with those fold lines, and then layered up that really fun pink patterned flower using foam tape. I have 2 leaf elements tucked behind the flower and also a script dazzle greeting. Now, I love the script dazzle greetings, some of my favorites too. And I also like, not only are you getting those beautiful script sentiments, you also get some little extra accent pieces like the hearts and the flowers. So I've used a flower for the center of my flower, and then I have my hugs dazzle on here. Then for the card inside, I have another strip of green cardstock, plus the sending love dazzle message and a butterfly rub-on. Our final project is a super simple cutaway card where I've just simply cut away a portion of the card front before decorating it. Now there's no specific measurement for this style of card. You can cut away as much from that front panel as you like. Here I've cut from the top fold of the card to about 2 inches from the bottom of the card front. So the fold of my card is over here. I opened this up and put it into my paper trimmer to get a nice straight edge on there. But you could cut your angle using a much more dramatic angle if you wanted, or something a bit softer. Totally up to you. And then I've covered the card front with a mustard yellow cardstock. I really like this, especially in combination with that blue. And then I've lined the inside with the cream colored cardstock. For the pattern paper here, what I've done is I actually used the portion of the card front that I cut away as a guide for my angle. And then I've trimmed the other piece, the remaining 3 sides, down just slightly smaller than my card front so that I could just simply pop that right on top and away we go. So minimal geometry skills needed for this. Then the focal of my card is a label, and this is from the 8 labels for your greetings die set. So this one here has a lot of really fantastic die shapes, and this one just fit so perfectly in here. So I've die cut that from white cardstock, and then I've accented it with some leaf die cuts here. Those will be seen on the inside of the card as well. I have 2 butterflies. I've got an ephemera piece, and then I have a rub-on, and I have some small swirl rub-ons here, plus the hello ephemera piece popped up on foam tape, and I have a bow tied in some gingham ribbon for a finishing touch. Now when you open up the card, you can see I've got more of this all over floral rub-on, And this is positioned at the top so that you can still see it when the card is closed. And then I've got this really sweet rabbit rub-on down here at the bottom and the With Love Dazzle overlapping. And that is our final project of the day today. So a big thank you to our friends at Graphic 45 for this fantastic selection of supplies. I had so much fun with this. And a special thanks to you for joining me today. We're always so glad that you're here, and we're happy you're a part of our Paper Wishes family. Do feel free to leave a comment. We love to hear what you think. Each item can be purchased separately, and you can see them below. However, we've also bundled them into a creative money saver just for you. For the money saver, just see this webisode on paperwishes.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, have a look in the description box below this video. You'll find a link that will take you to our Paper Wishes webisodes page, and you can see everything I just mentioned. If you enjoyed our video today, we'd really appreciate a thumbs up. It helps people to find our channel. And don't forget to subscribe. We create 3 to 5 videos each week, so there's always something fun to inspire your creative spirit.